This is HCAM, just letting everyone know that we're good to go live when you begin.
Okay, thank you, Matt. We'll just wait for a few more people so we'll get to quorum, and I know Jeff and Carol are coming too, so. Actually, it's not even 6 o'clock yet, so.
Is school done, Tim?
Yeah, I finished today. Actually, was the last.
Yes, as I say, a few hours ago, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I was thinking because like the middle school doesn't have air conditioning, does it, or does it?
Just in a couple locations. Yeah, so not the whole school, but weirdly, it stays. I mean, I'm not gonna say it's comfortable, but it stays, relatively okay. Today would have been difficult. Tomorrow would be worse. So we're glad the little cherubs are home for the week for the summer.
Yeah, the lawn behind the middle school is definitely not air conditioned, as we discovered during the 8th grade promotion ceremony.
I got lucky. My daughter's was yesterday, and it was beautiful day.
Yeah. Brevity was the order of the day today for the program. So
Mr. LaFave does a nice job though, huh? They did a pretty good thing.
Yeah, it was a nice program.
Yeah.
Hi, Mike. Hi, Carol. Hi, Jack Root.
Hello, everyone.
We're here.
Nancy's coming in, so that will give us our quorum. Hi, Nancy.
Hi.
I know Jeff is coming, and Tim and Carol. I don't know if Susan is coming or not. They're probably the two. You're on mute, Carol.
Yes, Susan is definitely coming because she left here just a little while ago. And so I would imagine that depending on traffic.
Okay. Well, we'll give it a couple minutes because I know we really don't want to start, especially while we're waiting for Jeff, because I know he's our Vertex rep tonight.
Just so you know, I have select board at 7 o'clock. So if I disappear, that's where I'm going.
It is my sincere hope to get us through by then.
Oh, mine too.
So yeah, I think we should be good. Actually, Dan, which sections are yours to present on the agenda?
We have, I think we have Michelle here from Semiotis, who's going to go over like a real high level overview of the planning board submission.
Yeah.
And Claire is going to jump on from LEC at 6:15. She's in the car right now, but she's going to do like a 5-minute on the ConsCom submission.
Okay.
Basically, neither one of them really changed, but we asked them to give like a high level overview for everybody.
Okay.
And answer any questions that might arise.
Okay. Jeff just texted me and said he's logging on right now. And it'll actually give me a chance. I didn't see invoices, but oh, there it is. Okay, good. That gives me an extra second to find those.
Did you say you were missing the invoices, John?
I got them now. I got them now, though.
Okay.
Thank you. Well, in the interest of time, I know Jeff just texted me and said he's logging on. So why don't we go ahead and get started? I will call the meeting to order at 6:03 p.m. Welcome everyone to the Tuesday, June 18th, 2024 meeting of the Elementary School Building Committee. We are conducting this meeting virtually in accordance with the governor's regulations. And so since we are virtual, any votes we take tonight will be taken via a roll call vote. We do have quorum with 5 committee members in attendance. Quick review of our agenda. We have our opportunity for public comment. Following that, under new business, we will be approving invoices. We will look to approve the minutes of our last ESBC meeting. And then we will get updates on our local permitting, both planning board and Concom, as well as an update on the MIPA process. We will get an update on a recent MSBA meeting that occurred a couple of weeks ago, and we will discuss and take a vote on the approach to negotiations with abutters to the project. And we will try to wrap up as close to 7 o'clock as possible, if not before. So beginning with public comment, is there anyone here who's a member of the public who wishes to comment? Looking at the windows, I'm thinking that's a no. And so we will go right ahead and we will go to approval of invoices. In your packet tonight, there were 2 invoices. The first is an invoice for Vertex, which is invoice number OPM 11626 in the amount of $52,583.33. The second invoice is payable to Perkins Eastman, invoice number 00954210006 in the amount of $654,451.30. The grand total of the invoice package tonight is $707,034.63. Does anyone have any questions or comments about the invoices?
No.
Okay, hearing none, I would seek a motion to approve the invoice package totaling $707,034.63.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mike, a second by Nancy. We are roll call, so I'll go in the order of my Zoom windows. Starting with Bill.
Yes.
Mike.
Yes, sir.
Jagrup.
Yes.
Nancy.
Yes.
And I am a yes. So the invoices are approved unanimously, 5-0.
Hey, John.
Yes.
I don't have a question about that invoice, but I just wanted to know, I'm sure many people probably saw the article recently about what happened up in Arlington, where they had a $450,000 international email scam in regards to their school construction. So I'm just curious, what sort of safeguards and protocols do we have here with our situation that, you know, our citizens can feel pretty comfortable? It sounded like it was a very sophisticated group that went after them. And I'm just curious what safeguards we have in place that wouldn't happen to us. And I don't necessarily need an answer right now, but it's something that I think we should feel we should know as a committee that we're in pretty good shape.
Yeah, and I think, yeah. Go ahead, Jeff.
Bill, if refresh my memory, but I think they asked for a direct wire. Was that?
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't do that at all. So we don't direct wire anyone.
Right. And you shouldn't be reached out by vendors. I mean, you know, we're the conduit for invoice processing, right? So you shouldn't be directly asked to be paid by any vendor unless they've already submitted a W-9 and already been set up in the town system if they want to do direct deposit. All invoices flow through Vertex, as does all reimbursements back at the state. You know, some of those scams talked about, you know, if you wanted to get your reimbursement from your project from the state, you know, use this link. So, you know, Vertex handles all your reimbursements. So we submit all paperwork associated with that. All invoices flow through us. So the town shouldn't be interacting with other entities other than already paying established firms that have a setup system with setup accounts. And if there are any questions, they should go through, you know, Susan or my office, you know, to validate any requests that do come in. It's a great question, Bill, and unfortunately something a few towns fell victim to.
No, I appreciate it. I'm not surprised. You both had a very comprehensive answer, and I just wanted to bring it up so that we are aware of it. Thank you.
No problem.
Thanks, Bill. Okay, next up are minutes. So in your packet were the draft minutes from our May 14th, 2024 meeting. Are there any questions or edits to those minutes? Okay, hearing none, I would seek a motion to approve the minutes of May 14th, 2024.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second?
Okay, I think Bill got in there first, so we'll go motion by Mike, second by Bill. Roll call vote for approval, starting with Bill.
Yes.
Mike,
Yes, sir.
Jagroot,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
and I am a yes, so those minutes are approved 5-0. Next item on the agenda is an update on permitting. And so, Dan, I think I am turning this over to you or somebody you brought.
I think
With us.
Michelle is
Dan
here.
Michelle, there's Michelle. Sorry, I didn't see you in the
She's here.
window. So, yeah.
So Semiotis
So if we
team is
could-
going to give you an update on the local permitting. I could talk a little bit about MIPA when we get to that point.
Okay. Excellent. All right. Thank you.
So, hi, everyone. Michelle Kaiserman, Semiotis Consultants. We're the civil engineers, and we're taking point on the planning board submission. So we are targeting for the end of this week on Friday to be submitting to the town. We are in the process of compiling the submission, and the submission is pretty much the narrative of explaining, introduction of the project, kind of the why the school is needed, kind of how big is the school, what is the layout of the school, the utilities, the impact to the town that this would have. A lot of this information is what we pull from the narrative that went into MSBA as part of the DD submission. We're also submitting the stormwater report and calculations, and this has not changed from the submission that we did to MIPA, and it's going to be the same for conservation, stormwater calculations, and layout of the system with the utilities. The landscape plans, the architectural elevations will be part of this. The traffic report will be part of this submission. The lighting plans and site lighting utilities will be part of the submission. Landscape lighting. So that's pretty much the submission. One of the newer items is that the planning board is interested is kind of phasing. So we will be including some information on phasing of dewatering. That will be part of kind of a more guiding the planning board that this is a means and methods kind of item, and that we do expect that it will be phased by the contractor, but it is up to the contractor and their whatever engineer that they hire to do the dewatering calculations. And then that would be submitted back to us to review. But we are not the ones who are doing that. So that is pretty much what is in the packet to planning.
And so the submission is going into the planning board this Friday. The expectation is that while they set the agenda, we'd be looking at a hearing in July, correct?
Correct.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And Michelle, you're also putting together the package for Concom as well. In the same time.
No. So we are submitting some items. So that's more LEC, who is taking charge of the conservation submission, but I believe that is also going in either this week or next week. Dan can
Yeah,
speak
it's
more
the
to
same
that.
timeline. So we're looking to kind of, because a lot of the documents overlap, we're looking to assemble it all by the end of the week. Collect signatures, and if they're both ready to go, they'll go in on Friday. But that's
Claire is actually on this call to give a quick update on that too.
okay. I don't want
She
to
hopped
steal
on.
this thunder.
I think you did.
And so just for the full committee's benefit. So that again, that documentation is being assembled for submission on Friday. It reflects all the things that we've already seen in terms of the building specs, et cetera. We're just getting that over the planning board. We will have the full submission before the planning board meeting, hearing that occurs, and obviously we'll share the date with all the members of the committee. I think probably would, in an ideal world, would have had the submission today before this meeting, but just timing and everything, trying to manage it to the deadlines that the local authorities have and our meeting schedule just didn't quite line up. But there's nothing in particular, and I'll look to our professionals to correct me if I'm wrong here. There's nothing in particular in that submission that is something that would be the sort of first time we've seen information. It might just be in different formats and things like that.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So any questions from the committee with regards to the process of submission for the planning board? Okay, then hearing none, I think we can move on to the discussion of the Concom submission, right?
Yep. Yeah. Claire, I don't know if you want to discuss Concom. And you're on mute if you're trying to talk. Maybe she doesn't.
Maybe she doesn't.
You did give her the out if you want to talk.
Yeah, we kind of did.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's also going to chip in on MIPA too, maybe, but
She's having trouble unmuting. Okay. Okay.
Well, sometimes stepping out and stepping back in helps with that, but that's up to her. I think ultimately what we're looking to get out of tonight is an approval to submit both the Concom and the planning board submissions. At your last presentation, we talked about the stormwater changes that affected Concom and planning board. And so that's the kind of bulk of the tweaks that have happened over the past couple of months leading up to that submission. As John alluded to, we're going to submit them on Friday, but then we're looking to schedule your next meeting in kind of mid to early July. And that way you'll have the package completed in hand prior to any public hearings related to this project, so that the committee will have a chance to look at it and discuss as a body prior to those other public hearings.
And Jeff, is that a vote you need, or is that just general approval?
A vote would probably be preferable. I know it's not hard and fast. I mean, usually the application, the town manager will sign it either way. But I think authorizing the project consultants or the interim town manager, authorizing the consultants to submit on the committee's behalf would be an appropriate vote.
Okay.
Both Concom and planning board.
Okay, so what we're looking for is a motion to authorize the project team to submit for both Concom and for planning on Friday.
Yep.
Okay.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion by Mike, second by Jack Root. Roll call vote. Bill?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes, sir.
Jack Root?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
And I am a yes. So the authorization is approved 5-0.
Claire, are you back with us now?
I am. I think I got the mute fixed. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I just
Apologies
asked
for
the
that.
committee to authorize you and Samiotis to submit both planning board and Concom. I don't know if you had anything else, color commentary you wanted to add about the Concom submission or not.
Nothing further to add. I didn't catch what everybody talked about before I was able to sign on, but just for context, the notice of intent application will be similar to what we submitted for the expanded ENF. It'll just be much more toned down document, very directed towards wetlands related items and stormwater. So I think John put it well. It won't really be much new information beyond what you have all already seen.
Claire, do you want to give the update on MIPA while you have the floor? About the, all right,
yeah,
no,
I could briefly give an update. We had the scoping session last Monday that went well, and I've been receiving some scattered comments from the analyst as he's been going through the review. asking some follow-up questions and clarifications, which we've been able to address. So at this point, we're expecting the comment period to end on Friday, which is when we will receive any comments provided by agencies or members of the public, and then we would expect the certificate to be issued next Friday.
And so once the certificate gets issued, that's when we know what we need to address in the environmental impact report, the EIR. And so we'll be reviewing the distilled version of the comments letters that have come back from the public through the MEPA office.
That's correct. The expanded ENF certificate will provide a scope for what the secretary will be looking for in the EIR. Exactly.
So also one of the reasons why we bumped up the July meeting, because it'd be good to have that in hand, early to mid-July, so we can update and advise the committee on kind of next steps as it relates to that MEPA process, which, to remind everybody, is the critical path of the project. That is the longest lead time item we have. So we want to make sure we stay on track for that.
Okay, any questions regarding MEPA?
I do have a question. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I have just a general question about the permitting process, given that the materials being reviewed by MEPA, planning board, CONCOM, all concurrently. How do you manage the comments that come in? Say, for example, MEPA comes up with some comments, and there's some changes have to be made to address those comments. Would you then resubmit to the planning board and the CONCOM, or how do you or would the comments be mutually exclusive where each board is looking at different things? How does the process usually work, given that it's going concurrently?
So MEPA is not necessarily a permitting agency. They're helping compile all of the comments that would be coming from permitting agencies. While they can request some modifications or considerations for the project, essentially what they would be suggesting are items that the planning board and conservation and other agencies would already be asking for. So generally the comments are pretty related to each other. If there are any comments from MEPA in this expanded ENF certificate that we do need to address while we are in the planning board and conservation commission review process, we'll just have to be making those revisions concurrently and provide that new information in the EIR submittal with MEPA.
Okay.
And usually for the local town reviews, usually the peer reviewer is the same company in person that does both, just so that it's not one board fighting the other board on making changes. And this is also the reason why we submit plans to both boards concurrently, because we're speaking to them pretty much, either back to back in the same week or the following week. So when they're asking for changes, we can talk to the commission and the planning board live time and say that, well, one board has asked for these changes, this is going to affect this, and allow to kind of not be stuck making changes, undo changes, and then redo changes, that we can have these kind of conversations live time so that the boards aren't kind of fighting each other.
Yeah, that's
a good question, Chagru, because it does come up all the time. And there are resubmissions for the local boards because we clean up the documents, we collect the peer review comments, and they get incorporated into revised revisions that ultimately get memorialized in the final approval reference. And so that is a record set at the end of both those processes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I did have one more thing. One of the questions from the MEPA analyst was about the old Elmwood and what the intention was for that building. And I, know that there were some things out there about, but I think it's still unknown.
So I can, it is still unknown, and I can share some of the work that's out there. The Permanent Building Committee in Hopkinton has been doing a fairly lengthy study of several town buildings, and they included the existing Elmwood School in there, sort of in case the project was approved. And so they have recommended some different models for use. The town has not taken up the discussion of what those would be, simply because right now they're prioritizing the center school property to figure that out first. But there is work being done, so you can probably distill what I can send you down to a paragraph response of what is going on. The ultimate answer is nobody knows what it's going to be, but there are options being studied and presented.
Okay, Claire, does that grab what you, if we get that, is that going to be what you need to put a couple paragraphs together or a paragraph together for him?
Yes. Yep. That's
Okay.
that's perfect. Thank you for that, providing that information.
Okay. Yep. I will. I'll send that to both of you.
Okay, that's great. Thanks, John.
Okay. Any other permitting questions, local or MIPA? Okay. So moving on, we're next looking at an update on the MSBA meeting from June 5th.
Yep, so we had a meeting with the MSBA on June 5th, which had our project coordinator and our project manager from the MSBA, as well as the working group. In that meeting, they reviewed the advisories, which is essentially the modules, which explains what their expectations are for the design development, construction documents phase. And then they go on and describe what their expectations are on the construction and closeout phases as well. It's a lot about them disseminating information. Unfortunately for us, there was a misstep by the MSBA, which we have a new MSBA project manager that's filling in on the interim that started this past week. Because the current project manager is on a paternity leave. And when that new project manager came on board, she reminded us that we missed a design presentation to them, which was a requirement they added in vague language. Now they'd added it a couple of years ago, and so really this meeting was more about them disseminating information to us, but they did want a little dog and pony show, which we did not do for them. We gave them a verbal update on where the project is and how we're on budget. There are no changes. But the new project manager would like that record copy. So Austin Perkins are pulling that together this week as we have all the stuff available. We just didn't have it in hand for the initial meeting, and we're going to send that over. I believe that interim person is there for about 3 months until the regular project manager returns. But other than that, it was an uneventful meeting. All their standard literature was disseminated to this group in terms of the working group, and we're on to the next phase, which is construction documents.
Any questions about the MSBA meeting or process?
The other point I want to make on that is that the MSBA, why these things kind of get lost in the weeds, there's lots of standardization and blanket statements. And if you've been on this job here with me for the past couple of years, you've probably seen a lot of that. And so a week ago, we got the email that blasted out to every single district copying the world saying, hurry up and get all your reimbursements in for the end of fiscal year. And of course, I have to write back and advise them that, well, you have not signed a funding agreement with us because you're holding us up until MIPA is available. So therefore, that does not apply to us, but thank you for copying the world. So, which they write back and say, oh, right, yes, so that does not apply to you. So there's a little dog and pony dance that goes back and forth. And I just want you guys to be advised, because as town leadership changes, there's new people that end up on the other end of those email correspondence, and there may be questions that come back to John or Carol from the interim leadership at the town over the course of the project. But the MSBA agreed that we're not going to submit any reimbursements until they sign the funding agreement, which is targeted for the beginning of the year when we wrap up MIPA.
And we provided, when that was agreed upon, we provided an updated cash flow to town at the time. So yep. They shouldn't be surprised by anything at this point.
That's correct. Yeah, we updated the cash flow for the town. We've also sent all contract amendments and things like that to the MSBA. So they're getting the records, they're following along, but we're not pre-submitting, 14 months worth of reimbursements. We're just going to do a lump sum submission when they finally sign the agreement.
Sure, makes sense. Okay. Any other questions on that? Last piece is discussing the process with abutter negotiations. So just to contextualize for the whole committee, as we know, there are several abutters who are impacted in some way or the other by this project, most frequently by the roadway improvements. Even though they're all occurring within the public right of way, it does have impact on some of the various properties. So we had begun discussions with the abutters even before project approval to start talking about the process at a high level. We did Vertex and Perkins Eastman and Mike Shepard did a walkthrough with all of the abutters on Hayden Row. So once we were able to stake out exactly where the roadway improvements would be occurring, and now we're beginning the process of discussing with each of the abutters specifically what they might be looking for as mitigation, and then also what the town / the committee would be willing to do to really achieve the output they're looking for. So whether it's, shielding from some of the exits or entrances of the new project, or other landscaping that might be desired because in the public right of way, the existing driveway gets shrunk a little bit or something like that. So it will be a process of discussing and negotiating with each individual affected property. We'll be kicking that off with discussions that, kicking it off. We're not kicking it off. We're continuing it with specific discussions that'll be starting in the month of July. So we're going to be sending out a communication to all of those affected, allowing them some opportunities to choose dates and times where they can meet with members of the committee, members of from Perkins Eastman and from Vertex, and have those specific discussions. I think what we're looking for tonight is, as part of that process, it is incredibly inefficient if we have to come back to the full committee with sort of each detail level discussion. So what we were hoping to do was get the committee's authorization to authorize Mike and myself to be the committee's negotiators on what those specific mitigations would be with each of the individual property owners. We would then where we'd sort of come back to the committee would be when we know what the total cost of mitigation efforts would be, just to get that budget approval. Jeff, did I miss anything there?
Just the next step is we're going to send out a survey, Sign Up Genius, I think we're using, to the second week of July to provide a bunch of time slots for all those abutters that surround the property that have reached out to us to date, and ask them if they'd like to have a meeting. At that meeting, we're going to talk to them about their concerns and understand what their main concerns are, whether it's in the front of the yard, the side of the yard, the rear of the yard, and then we'll come back to them with a follow-up meeting about how we might be able to address those concerns. A lot of that's what will happen in the interim, back and forth, before we present updates to the building committee.
Any questions about that process?
So John, do you need a motion or just someone to move what you've already suggested?
Yeah, I mean, if there are no questions, then I would seek a motion to authorize John Graziano and Mike Shepard to act as representatives of the committee in negotiating potential mitigation efforts with abutters to the project.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I got a motion by Bill and a second by Nancy. So roll call, starting with Bill.
Yes.
Mike? Mike, you're on mute.
No, I'm here.
Well, Mike, we gotta hear you say yes. You're on mute. There you go.
Yes, sir.
Jagroot?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
and I am a yes, so it is approved 5-0. Okay. That is the last item on our agenda. Is there anything else, Jeff?
Just the next
Dan?
meeting date.
Oh, yeah.
So we were targeting, initially we were targeting later in July, but we talked about doing July 9th now, which is, I think, 3 weeks from today. The purpose of that meeting date is, again, as we discussed earlier, to try and have a touch base with this group before all the public hearings initiate with Concom and Planning Board, as well as review the ENF comments that will have come back from MIPA at that point. So it'll be a permit-focused meeting, as well as some other house business with invoices and minutes. So I guess the question of the committee is, does July 9th work? I know summer schedules get a little tricky, so we just want to make sure you guys have a quorum. I think that to aid with summer attendance, we probably still stick with the remote participation in terms of virtual
That would be
meetings.
smart.
At this late level, if the EIR comments come back and we feel we need a in-person discussion, we'll advise the committee if there's a change in that.
John, I probably will not be able to join that night, that day.
Okay. Are others generally okay?
I should be able to make it, John.
Okay. All right, then I think I think we can target that day, and unless advised otherwise. So July 9th, virtual meeting.
And just, I think the other one we penciled in was August 13th. Just again, people's summer schedules fill up pretty fast. We were just planning on doing, kind of one meeting a month, I think, at this juncture, unless things change in the permitting realm and necessitates another meeting.
Okay. I think from thinking about the August meeting, maybe what we can do is if we can just get the invite out, if we can do that through Georgette, and then
Sure.
we'll probably give us a quick roll call of, do we have enough people to make it for August 13th?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, August 13th is on the calendar, but July 9th is not. So be sure to get that to Georgette.
Great.
Thank you.
So the July 9th replaces July 18th.
Yes.
That's correct.
And I think she's already sent out the other one because I have it on here already.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, those are the couple ones that
Yeah.
have been
Okay.
notified. The July one was the only fit at the moment.
Awesome. Well, then if there is nothing else, I would seek a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, motion by Nancy, second by Mike. Roll call starting with Bill.
Yes.
Mike,
Yes, sir.
Jagroot,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
and I am a yes. So we are adjourned at 6:37 p.m. Again, our next meeting will be on July 9th at 6 p.m. It will be a virtual meeting, but we will coordinate with HCAM to make sure that it is broadcast and recorded. Thank you to HCAM as always, and have a good night, everyone.
Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care.